December, where testing was dropped, but that was really only for fully vaccinated Canadians taking those short trips. The spread of Omicron brought that testing back. Some infectious disease specialists lobbying to end the testing say it should have been gone long ago.
We're going to have variants that will come into Canada from the border, as will the rest of the world. Omicron is everywhere, BA2 is everywhere. And so again, we should be focusing locally on strengthening testing amongst people that need it, rather than necessarily focusing on the border as a way to keep it out.
But sources say that random testing at the airport is here to stay, and that is really to identify and track those variants.
And Jen, the situation at the border is something a lot of people in this area have been keeping a close eye on. So how are people reacting to this decision?
This is really something that politicians and community members have been really looking forward to. That PCR test is really quite pricey, upwards of $200 sometimes. And the rapid antigen test, which has only been recently accepted, is still something that had to be administered through a lab or a healthcare provider or telehealth. Since February, your border city mayors have really been asking for that testing requirement to be dropped.
This is probably one of the last government things that are in place to deal with COVID. And it wasn't necessary. We've been saying that for weeks in border cities where we live this. We live the border crossings. We certainly welcome it, but I think they could execute it and end it right now. There's no reason to keep on making people go through this process to the end of the month when they're acknowledging it's simply not necessary.
Those here say that it's really going to be good for the economy and for tourism. About a quarter of the tourism locally is dependent on those American visitors.
It will be great news. It will be very much welcomed by the businesses in the Windsor Essex region, and we can't really wait for it. It's been over 2 years now that the border has been restricted, and that has really dampened the business environment here. It continues to affect us. The border is a very important asset in the region.
By eliminating the test altogether, what it does is it removes the fact that you have to plan your trip, and it removes the fact that there might be costs associated with that test. What this does is allows the spontaneous traveler to come back across the border because they're in the US and they decide, hey, let's go over to Caesars Windsor. Hey, let's go visit a winery. Hey, let's go over and have dinner on Erie Street. All of those things come back into play with the removal of these conditions, and that's why it's a welcome news indeed.
Overall, those that I spoke with say that it's going to be good for the recovery here, and it'll hopefully help restore that Windsor-Detroit relationship that we're also used to. Katerina.
We'll be keeping an eye on this. Thanks for this, Jen. CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa live from the border for us tonight. The owner of the Ambassador Bridge wants to mend relations with Canada. Matthew Maroon told CBC News he wants to extend whatever olive branch he can to help, but people on the West End are skeptical.
He has a lot of things to prove. He talks about an olive branch. He needs an olive tree to make up for all of the demolition work that he's done to the neighborhood, not just his own properties, but to the scattered destruction that he's done to the fabric that's here. The coolest thing, as I can say about Sandwich Town, is we are resilient, despite that bugger messing us up time and time again.
You know, I'm skeptical, of course, because it's just been such a long time. And I understand that he's now in charge. He's the son that's in charge of the company after his father's passing. But somebody that lives in the community all my life, if he's very sincere about an olive branch and reaching out to community, you know, I'd reach it out. Send it to me. You know, and if he wants to do something to help the community legitimately, and I can see that, I wouldn't even have a problem trying to help him out.
These are just some of the homes that they're talking about, abandoned properties owned by the bridge company. More homes used to run along here until they were flattened to make room for a second span. Residents say they want to see more investment from the company if it's serious about mending relationships after years of what they feel is neglect. Maroon acknowledged years of what he called regretful acts when his father owned the bridge. He said the blockade at the Ambassador Bridge gave upper levels of government a black eye, and that he hopes to be seen as, quote, hardworking, disciplined, and forward-thinking.
Bridge company talks about the blockade this past month and the subsequent closure of Huron Church being a black eye on the community. I would say that the boarded up homes in Sandwich have been a cancer. and all to do with the bridge company not coming forward to the city with any type of plan to replace those homes.
Costante says he wants to see a benefits package for the community from the bridge, similar to what the Gordie Howe project is doing in Windsor. A Windsor cab driver who recently moved to the city with his family is recovering from 2 surgeries after an aggravated assault. The union rep for the driver says he was making his way down Erie Street West around 9:30 Saturday night, and that's when he heard something hit his vehicle. One man approached and smashed in the driver's window, injuring the driver badly enough that he may lose his eyesight.
As much we believe that our car is pretty safe, that equipped with many features, so from video camera and audio to protect the consumer and to protect the driver. But after the fact, it's accident take place. After the fact, somebody get injured. So even if we capture those people, the guy get hurt. And the other challenge we have with this type of industry is our member cannot go on worker compensation, cannot collect EI sick. And so it is if you don't work, you don't get money.
Windsor police say they are investigating and are looking for 2 suspects. Police also issued this photo here of 2 vehicles that were in the area at the time, and they would like to speak to the owners or the drivers. These vehicles are not suspected to be involved in the incident, but drivers may have information valuable to police. On the 48th anniversary of a Sarnia teenager's death, OPP is reminding the public they are still looking for the person or people responsible. Karen Coughlin was 14 years old when her body was discovered on Plowing Match Road between Churchill Line and LaSalle Line in Lambton County, nearly half a century ago. Police say 5 years ago, there was new information that indicated she was likely hit by a vehicle and her body was then moved. Police continue to offer a $50,000 reward for information that might help solve the cold case. Meanwhile, a memorial and cross for Coughlin that had been set up along Plowing Match Road has been removed, and Coughlin's family members are asking whoever did so to please return it or bring it to the Lambton County OPP detachment. Ukraine and Russia have been in talks again today, and both sides are projecting optimism about bringing the conflict to an end. Discussions revolved around Ukraine becoming militarily neutral and the fate of the 2 so-called independent territories in eastern Ukraine. But meanwhile, Russian forces continue their attack. CBC's David Common has the latest from Lviv, Ukraine.
3 weeks into this war, and air raid sirens continue to sound as bombardments occur in multiple cities across this country. In Chernihiv, a northern city, the U.S. Embassy says 10 people were lined up for bread when the Russians opened fire. 10 of them killed in that line, and there have been reports of more deaths and injuries in cities from Kharkiv to Kiev and Mariupol in the south, many other areas experiencing bombardments as well. There has been some talk as Ukrainian and Russian negotiators have met for a 3rd day of a potential deal. And I would open with a bit of trepidation about all of that. While there is the possibility they could discuss land, territory, as well as what Ukraine's future looks like, perhaps without NATO ever being a part of it, all of this could simply be a Russian stalling tactic to resupply their own troops and then open fire in an even greater, more escalated form. And so, while there are some hopeful signs, they could very easily be dashed at this point. We've also seen continuing numbers of people fleeing the country. About 3 million have left Ukraine. Even more have been displaced inside the country. In terms of children, because there are a lot of children, it is about every minute that a Ukrainian child becomes a refugee outside their home borders.
Russian army exploded our city and our houses, and not only in my city, a bigger part of Ukraine now is very bad.
David Common, CBC News, Lviv, Ukraine.
Some Ukrainian refugees are hoping to make Canada home. CBC News spoke to two friends who are nervous about what to expect when it comes to work and finding a place to live.
If doctors, internationally trained medical graduates can easily assimilate themselves into the system, and I realize that it's quite tricky because first choice is always for those that studied in Canada.
Windsor is the best for me, like from what I've really carried out, like I got the best university also. It's very good, and especially for computer sciences courses.
They met as international students in Ukraine and have now escaped to Hungary. Both are receiving some guidance from a firm offering free immigration consultation services in Windsor. The federal government has already waived some restrictions, allowing for an unlimited number of people fleeing Ukraine to obtain a temporary emergency visa. A Wheatley nurse left her hospital job in Leamington last year to work as a traveling nurse visiting other regions. That's because Lindsay Pentland felt she couldn't provide the care her patients deserved where she was. She was unhappy with pay and she wanted new experiences. Meanwhile, as nurses like Pentland opt to leave their jobs for other opportunities, the province is trying to get them to stay put with a recently announced $5,000 retention bonus. But Lindsay Pentland says that's a Band-Aid solution to a bigger problem. We reached her at her current post in Fort Albany.
I say it was moral distress and moral injury that we were facing. It had been beyond the burnout that everyone talks about now. The amount of what we are seeing on a daily basis compared to and how we can care for patients, how we were taught, it's going against our moral. It's hard to, with the increase of patient ratio, it's hard to give the care that we were taught to get. The one thing that I'm weirdly thankful for COVID is that it actually is making the nursing shortage, making everyone aware of it. Because I can remember since day one of nursing 15 years ago being short on a daily basis. And it's been a chronic thing in healthcare for decades. And unfortunately, it had to take COVID to make people realize.
And now the province has announced this $5,000 retention bonus to keep nurses working. First of all, what's your reaction to that?
It shows that the government is acknowledging that there is a crisis, which is awesome, but it's not doing anything to address the issue causing the crisis.
Do you think that, as you said, it doesn't totally address like the heart of the problem here, but do you think it'll make any difference in terms of, keeping nurses who are feeling burnt out, feeling that moral injury that you spoke of from leaving their jobs?
It will give some nurses a little bump up that they need, but it's not doing anything to assist the moral distress or moral injury. It's not giving us any mental health supports at all, which is tremendously needed, and benefits barely cover any of it. It's not addressing the work shortages. It's not addressing the pay equity. It's not addressing the workload ratios. It's not addressing Bill 124. It's not addressing several things. It's a Band-Aid.
A representative with the Ontario Nurses Association also says that the $5,000 bonus will do nothing to encourage people to stick around, saying that it's a slap in the face. We also heard from Erie Shores Healthcare. That's where Pentland used to work. In a statement, the hospital says frontline healthcare workers are dealing with unprecedented levels of work-related stress, and goes on to say, we have many resources to support staff and continue to work on a robust retention and wellness program for April. As for worker retention and recruitment, this is a constant effort for hospitals who are continuously in a state of recruitment and retention. Our turnover rates are on par with provincial averages. With high gas prices and warmer weather inbound, some in the city might be looking to hang up their car keys in exchange for bike locks. And while some cycling shops are having difficulty finding bikes to sell, those that do have them say you better act quickly if you want to get one. Jacob Barker took a ride to find out more.
At Infinity Cycle, they're fixing bikes right now. That's about all they can do. Bikes to sell are slow in coming.
They will be trickling in. We have quite a few bikes on order with promise that they will be delivered from our manufacturers. But it's just a matter of them kind of, like I said, trickling in. If anybody wants to follow our social media or Facebook page, we'll post on there when items do arrive.
There are only 6 to sell on the floor. The shop has been dealing with a supply crunch persisting since a big shortage during the pandemic last year. With spring incoming, they've had to turn some customers away who are looking to switch from their car seat to a bike seat.
We'll get through it, and eventually we'll see some bikes on the floor.
Well, it isn't just warmer weather that's driving demands for two-wheelers this year. Due in large part to the sanctions placed on Russia recently, prices at the pump have skyrocketed.
Even if you can drive in one day a week, that's going to save you, $20-50. It depends on how far you're going.
Here at the Bike Kitchen, there has been lots of interest in recent days. Many are looking to them as a way to save money at the pump.
You can go shopping, you can do anything on a bike almost within like a 5K distance that you can in a car. So with this high gas price situation, a lot of people are looking at bikes.
They aren't feeling a supply crunch at the moment like Infinity. They just got a new shipment in today, but they say if this year is anything like last, don't expect these bikes to last long.
By the time it came to June, we didn't have very many bikes to sell, and I suspect it's going to be like that this year. So if someone is thinking of a bike, they should get out now and take a look and start their shopping.
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
Support your local bike.
Live look outside there. I mean, it's definitely bike weather. Sunny today, more of that tomorrow. Just really nice temperatures. Nick Sturkovich will be here after the break with a look at our forecast. Stay with us. Nick Sirkovich joins us now for a look at our weather forecast. Nick, just a beautiful, gorgeous day outside, and I hear you've got even more good news for us.
I do. Actually, I do, Katerina. And, you know, I mean, I just want to show you how powerful the sun is at this time of year. So, of course, everybody waking up to cloud cover or fog, depending on what time you woke up. But we had that foggy weather across southwestern Ontario, including, of course, Windsor as well. Now, in 1 hour, we had temperatures as that cloud cover cleared out from noon to 1 p.m. We had temperatures jump from 6 degrees to 11 degrees, and that was in 1 hour. So it shows you just how strong that sun is when the cloud cover clears out. Also, look at this. Chatham-Kent, more under cloud cover, temperatures at about 8 degrees. Windsor at 17 right now, hitting a high of 18 degrees earlier today. So goes to show you what a difference some of these local effects can make. Now, we will see fog patches again through the overnight period tonight. Not quite as extensive as what we had yesterday, but we're still looking at fog patches developing. Generally, though, clearing conditions as we move through the next 24. So there's a look at the forecast tomorrow. A little bit of high cloud cover, but for the most part, we've got good sunshine in the forecast for tomorrow. Some clouds starting to roll in late on Thursday, and this with another system that's approaching. So Thursday night into Friday, few isolated showers, then Friday morning cloud cover, and then through sort of Friday afternoon and into the evening hours, we've got this system pushing through, and that's going to bring with it some rainfall into the weekend, lasting until about Saturday afternoon. So warm weather in place, but also some wet weather as we head toward the weekend. In terms of how much wet weather you can expect, broadly speaking, everybody's looking at about 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. Kind of depends where you are, but that's generally what we're expecting across the region. For tonight, plus 5 degrees through the overnight. Fog patches, but otherwise just partly cloudy skies. It will be a fairly mild night for most. And then as we move through tomorrow, 20 for the afternoon tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies. Again, a little bit in the way of showers sort of late day Friday and then into Saturday. But all of these temperatures, Katerina, above the seasonal mark by maybe double, and certainly tomorrow even triple. So like, really good looking weather, and certainly for tomorrow for St. Paddy's Day. Looks pretty good.
That's perfect. Perfect weather to
degrees,
celebrate.
yeah.
And what do we need to do in order to keep these double digits for a while? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm working on it.
Well, we'll wish to the Irish gods tomorrow.
That's right.
and toast to them for that. Okay, thanks so much, Nick.
You bet.
When we come back, as contract negotiations continue at Caesars Casino, workers have voted in favor of strike action if needed. More on that after the break. Welcome back. There could be strike action at Caesars Windsor if required. Workers voted 94% in favor of that. They had a virtual meeting yesterday ahead of the online vote. That's a first for those members.
We received 94% in favor of a strike if we need to pull labor. But I mean, the key point there is if we need to. I mean, we know that we have the support of our membership, and that's the whole key around the issue, right? I mean, that does not mean that we're going on strike, and I don't want people to be misled that means that we're going on strike. That means that if we need to, obviously, that we have the support of our membership.
Contract negotiations began last month. The union represents about 2,200 workers at the casino, about half of which are still on layoff due to pandemic restrictions. Many have not worked at all since the pandemic began when the casino was shuttered. Cassidy says they're asking the casino to reopen more of its amenities, which would bring more workers back. The current contract expires April 1st. The last contract negotiation in 2018 happened after a strike, which lasted 61 days. Cassidy says ratification will be in person. And now, before we leave you, we'll take you to Yucatan, Mexico, to the rescue of a rare type of whale. That's a pygmy killer whale. It was beached and then rescued by local environmentalists on the shores of the Gulf of Mexico. The group helped transport the orca out of the sea and into a holding tub for a medical exam. A veterinarian who examined the orca says it appeared to have some pulmonary problems and might need treatment before it can be released. The pygmy killer whale is a rarely seen mammal and as a result, not very well studied by marine biologists and researchers. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.